Yes, we're here at the Paradox Convention 2013, and we're going to talk a little bit about one of the big surprises this year, a game coming out of nowhere, looking almost ready to ship, basically.
Yes.
Leviathan Warships.
To do battle and ship.
Yes. It's a very interesting kind of game because it looks really simple at first look, but then there's a lot of hidden depth in those waters.
The deepest of seas. This is
yes.
terrible, but we'll keep on going because we're professional.
Oh, yes. So it's Paradox kind of moving towards this multi-platform kind of games. It's on PC and iOS and Android. Crossplay, cross-save. You can start a game on your PC, save, and open it up on your tablet on your way to work, like they talked about, which I think is really interesting.
Absolutely.
And at the presentation that we saw, it didn't really look like one of the platforms was superior to the other, because they played it on PC and tablet.
As the nature of the game sort of lends itself well, since there's no sort of twitch play to it. It's turn-based. You sort of you plan out your turn, and then when both players or the AI and yourself
they have committed
to it, then it sort of plays out in like an outcome round, and then you have to deal with what happened there. So
and change your strategy or deal with what's happening.
But the basics is basically like a modernized version of battleships.
Yeah.
You have a certain amount of ships and you deck them out, and that part of it is incredibly deep. And I think I didn't even realize it until I sort of had played around and then went back to the shipyard to see what other options was available to me.
Yeah, and of course we only had half an hour hands-on with the game, and I think we barely broke water with the possibilities.
Yeah. And interesting aspect to it is just the level of tactical things you can do. First, you deck out your ships and you put weapons on them, and you can have a plan for a certain map. You know that terrain. There are islands on the map where you can sort of hide behind them, and key to it all is sort of what you can see. What's in your...
Because the whole map is shrouded in a fog of war, and then you need your bridge to be... I had it where my bridge was shot, so I couldn't see anything. So it's also your ability of your ship and the radar capabilities of how much you can see of the level. And if you can... Sometimes the enemy starts shooting at you before you see him, because it's a ship with a better radar.
Exactly, or better range. Because that's also one thing that was... I got to tell this story. I mean, it makes me come out like a noob, because I was. But what happened in my game was that a ship, I didn't have any short-range weapons. And there's a beam cannon that's like a real good short-range weapon. And there was this scout coming up quickly from behind me and attacking me with that beam weapon. But that player had sort of made a little bit of a tactical error because he had moved all the way up to me. So, in fact, by the end of the turn, he was too close to use that beam weapon.
Even though it's a short-range weapon, it also has a minimum range.
So all weapons have a minimum and a maximum range, and a sort of different spread as well. But that meant that I was actually safe. So when I ran, I was once again within his range, and then he killed me off. So you have to think about that very carefully, and also you have to think about giving your ships different kind of weapons so that they can defend any situation, and if they can't, they have to be really, really good at what they do. So
and I mean, I think the strategy between in how you deck out your ship in the shipyard is very deep, because there's
extremely deep.
A lot of weapons and defensive weapons,
exactly.
And you have a cloak and you have a shield, mines. It's
smoking mines and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different ways to sort of outmaneuver your opponent,
and you kind of need to anticipate what sort of player it is if you played them before.
Yeah.
And you can have...
Perhaps the map gives a good sort of indication as well as what you want to have, but certainly, like, I can see people having different sort of decks. this is one type of deck that I'm going to play it like this. This is
Yeah,
another type of deck.
because you also have different sorts of matches. It's a small fleet, medium fleet, or
Yeah.
a large fleet, and then you can have several different types of fleets within
Yes.
that
Yeah.
in your deck.
So, exactly, and it's going to be really interesting. And what's even more interesting, of course, is 2-on-2, because then you can specialize even more with a
Yeah.
teammate. And the beautiful here is that Fog of War, you see what your teammate sees as well.
Yeah.
So you can have one player who's got fast ships and scouts with a lot of radar on them, and then you can have sort of heavier ships who can maneuver then depending on what that information.
Yeah.
And sort of that bigger ships that will be slow and that perhaps will be vulnerable if they did not have that information. So there's a lot of tactical depth to it in that sense.
And it has an appealing art style. It's not overly complicated, but I mean, you can, when you zoom in, there is a lot of details in the
Yeah.
models, and being also having autofire, but still being able to manually control where you shoot. Like I said, it looks simple, and then when you start playing it, it's like peeling an onion. It gets more and more.
Exactly, because I mean, you have the auto fire on to see the outcome round, and then when you come into a round where you're actually in range, you're probably better off manually firing at a point where you feel that he has an advantage. So
Yep.
if he's got a very strong front gun, for instance, that's doing a lot of damage to you, you may want to try and
Yeah,
take
you want to
that
disable that gun. And,
or if he's, like you said, if you want to take out his bridge, perhaps, then you
yeah,
can.
exactly, and
So-
then you can sneak away again. And
Exactly. So there's a lot of tactical option there, and to explore and see, and I think it's going to be. There's a lot to that, and that's
and
really
it's
interesting.
it's coming out soon.
Fairly soon. I don't know if we got it. I don't think we got a date.
Not a confirmed date.
but it's like.
But yeah, that's also I think a thing with the need to send it off to authentication
Yeah.
with Apple and Android.
Yeah, but it's probably this spring sometime that it's coming out. So that's one to look for, and especially if you're the kind of gamer who enjoys to sort of take their experience with them.
Yeah, on the road.
Yeah.
Exactly.